Hello, welcome back to another guide video on Tab G. Today we're going to take a look at the viable weapon choices and, quickly go over pretty much all of the good weapons in the game. Keep in mind that this video will only cover the weapons that are decent, in my opinion. In case if you're wondering why my opinion matters, I'm a decent player with like a 5 to 6 KD. I've been playing since 2018, blah 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 blah. There has been a few changes since 2018. However, I also recently returned to this game, like around one before, like a little bit before when it went free to play. So I had about a week or two to play with these guns a little bit more, and this is my thoughts on them. So if you're new or just starting out, this is probably going to help you a lot. So let's get started. So over here are the A tier weapons on the ground, and over here is the B tier weapons. Everything else that's not here are C tier. Feel free to pause the video here and take in whatever guns are in A, B, and C if you want. But without further ado, I'll get started. So, going over the assault rifles. Or should I go by tiers? No, I'm gonna go by weapon types. Over the assault rifles, the AK-47, the AUG are the A tier assault rifles. The AUG has no recoil, very clear scoped in sight, paired up with the zero recoil, and I mean this thing is a beast at medium to long ranges. It is able to do things like that no other weapon can do. Has very little wobble as well, very stable. The only very high rate of fire as well, and a good mag size of 30 bullets. However, the only downside to it would be a fairly low damage per bullet. However, at closer ranges, it will still take 4 shots to kill. Obviously, this is not a close range from here to there, but a very strong medium to long range gun, can lay down suppressing fire, very good in both solos and duels. I strongly recommend picking up this weapon as your kind of medium range to close range ish weapon. Same thing with the AKM. However, the AKM shines more in the close to medium range aspect. Fairly low recoil, not a laser beam, but fairly low recoil. Okay, medium accuracy. It has high damage, however, and quite a decent medium to high rate of fire, making this gun an absolute machine at close range. However, the damage does drop off at longer ranges. The gun is fairly unstable, as in the wobbles a lot. As you can see, you will struggle to kill people with this weapon at medium ranges to long ranges. So your best bet with it is to hip fire at medium to close range. Its maximum viability range is about from here to there. Anything outside of this range, you might have to resort to single tapping, which there are better options out there that does this, like the long range or medium single tap playstyle much better. However, this is a very strong weapon. It's kind of like a jack of all trades, but it does everything very good. Definitely pick it up. Close range powerhouse. Yeah, go up against most SMGs without a problem. So now moving on to the B tier assault rifles. We have the FAMAS, the M16, and the SCAR. Let's go over the M16 first. The M16 is a burst gun. It, statistically speaking, is insanely good. Also, I will put a crosshair in the editor so you can see the spread of the weapon if you wish. It's a good spread. It has no recoil. It is, I'm not pulling down here. It's a definition of a laser beam. And it has the highest rate of fire of any rifle, which sits around at like, I think 890, which is kind of insane in a game like Tab G. The only downside and the biggest downside is that in burst, so not for everybody. Pick it up if you're good with it. Play around with it in the shooting range, try it out in the real game. If it's not for you, it's not for you. But if you can use it, this gun is very good and also has insane accuracy. Definitely a mid to long range weapon though. I will not use it close range just because of how fast you deplete your ammo, and sometimes like how like sprint jumping and stuff can choke you with most burst guns. FAMAS. SMG rifle, nothing to talk about. It's a very high rate of fire. However, the biggest problem is a small mag size and high rate of fire. You can run out of bullets quite easily. This makes it kind of a weak choice in early game where bullets is kind of scarce. However, with an abundance of bullets, you can run like an AKM with the FAMAS. So something covers your medium range to close range and something covers your extreme close range. This gun is used like a damage boost. So if you're fighting somebody up close, you can pull out, take out maybe like 50 health or 70 health from them, and then pull out from your main gun like an AK or a Thompson to finish up the kill. It is a strong weapon, however, it's too much of a niche and situational weapon for it to be ranked high with the other assault rifles. The SCAR is also kind of a niche gun. It is a very stable, very low recoil weapon that is best fitted for mid to long range engagement. Besides the AUG, this is the only other fully automatic weapon that can pretty much go up against sniper rifles. It is insanely accurate and insanely stable with minimum recoil, meaning that it will work well with zoom scopes. So if you want to take mid to long range fights, this is it for you. It has high damage, however, the rate of fire really is holding it back, and 25 rounds doesn't make any sort of close to mid-range engagement easy. It's okay close to mid-range, it will be alright, you won't like choke from it, but if the guy has an AKM, you have this, you're most likely gonna lose the fight close up. So keep your distance with this weapon. Okay, so that's that. And now we have the SMGs. Now to talk about Thompson. Very high DPS. It has 4 shots at the body at close range, like 6 shot or 5 shots at the body at medium range, which is rifle level damage. It has like 700, I think 730 something rounds per minute, which is a really good fire rate. The only downside is it's fairly inaccurate. However, as a close range option, this thing is a powerhouse. This is one of the highest damaging SMGs in the game right now, and it doesn't shoot very quickly, so you can have consistent damage over time. And mind you, very good consistent damage over time. This is my go-to gun. Definitely will help you win games. This is a carry weapon that you can kill 3 people in a squad fight with no problem. The AK-47U sacrifices damage and just DPS overall for control. Like the AUG, this is even more of a laser beam with no recoil, and this is one of the most accurate weapons in the game. Basically, you can just laser somebody if your aim is good enough with this. Even jumping doesn't decrease the accuracy that much. The accuracy and control of its gun is insane, but in exchange for this control, you kind of sacrifice its damage. So it's fairly decent early game, but as time progresses, as people get things like shields and extra health and other shit like that, it kind of becomes not very good, and it's not really a viable choice late game, so that's why it's in B tier. However, if you're new and aren't familiar with all the other gun mechanics, this thing can be a pretty good like introduction, because you can aim down sights with this. It's one of the rare guns in this game that when you aim down sights with it, it's still insanely stable. Very good control on the gun, but just not strong enough. So if you're just a new player or just playing for fun, then sure, go for it. But if you're try hard, if you want to get good at a gun, this is not a gun to get good with. This is a gun to, like, if you don't know anything, just pick it up and you can use it. It feels like playing Call of Duty. P90 is in B tier because of one thing. Its ammo size. It's 50 rounds. It does decent damage. It's like 5 shot to the chest at close range, and something medium range. Don't use this thing. It's kind of bad. Only problem is it has a pretty big spread. Its spread is really bad, so a lot of times you're really just spraying and praying, making it not a very strong choice after early game. In squad games, this might be a B+ tier. However, there's just better options, such as the Thompson, and that's really it. Okay, now moving on to the Shoddy. The Mossberg is the only viable choice. It allows you to play like a peekaboo kind of play style. So imagine the guy's there. So I know he's there. I just jump out. he can't really do anything because I only exposed myself and only my shoulder, not my entire body, for like half a second. Even if you get lucky, hit me once with the rifle, does like 25 damage, but I get to do like up to 50 damage to him. This is very good early game. However, the limitation is that you have to be indoors for this to work, meaning that late game where there's outdoors and not a lot of cover to do that with, the shotgun does become fairly weak. And in exchange for this, you can use an SMG or something that does damage, consistent damage over time. That will probably save you a lot more time, like a lot more than the shotgun. However, shotgun is a strong pick early game, especially definitely a force to be reckoned with. The Glock Nader. Some people hate it, some people love it. I love it. So laser beam, no recoil at all, insane control. You can ADS with the thing, and it works as well as AK-47U. Doesn't do that much damage, but considering that you are basically using a controllable version of the dual wield Glocks, it is quite strong. To be fair, it is quite strong. It melts people at closer ranges and can even be used at medium ranges because of the fact you can ADS fairly stably and consistently with it. Okay, so now moving on to the machine guns. These guys are really only B tier if you have a compensator, because without a compensator, recoil kind of goes like this. You don't want that. That makes it very hard to use. Without compensators, definitely like C tier or even F tier weapons, just you wouldn't touch it. With compensators, kind of cuts the recoil in half, which is fairly decent. The Mg42 and the Browning are pretty similar. The Mg42 has a little bit of side-to-side sway, while the Browning has just more vertical. They serve a single purpose to melt people up close, because it really gets kind of tough at range with how big the spread is. Even if you master the recoil perfectly, the spread is still quite large on both weapons, and it does actually, the machine guns do less damage than the rifles, but does a lot more damage than the SMGs. So given the rate of fire, they can be very deadly weapons if you're caught within close range with them, and if the guy is good with it. But I would not recommend it because it's unreliable, and especially after if you miss the first burst, sometimes it can be difficult to go back on target, unlike with some other weapons that are in A tier right now. Okay, let's go through our last two entries in A tier, which are both snipers. The rest of the snipers all trash. Don't pick them up. The Scar or like the AUG or like anything else does better than the DMRs. They're really, really bad. Only viable snipers in this game really is the AWP and the Barrett. They're both one-shot. They both do more than 100 damage to the head. This means that they both have insane one-shot capabilities. The shield, if the guy doesn't have any health upgrades, both of these weapons will be able to one-shot, and if they have, I think, less than, I don't know, 140 health or something, the AWP will still be able to one-shot them. This means that most of the time you're going to be one-shot somebody if you hit a headshot with either of these weapons. Because the more commonly run, like, Blessing, the shield only activates after the first bullet hits, so there's nothing stopping you from doing 100 damage and killing them in one hit if you hit the first headshot. Very strong weapons if you know how to use them. However, not very strong in my hands because I'm not a sniper. It really takes a lot of skill, and you can really get easily rushed or overwhelmed or this and that. So it is kind of like a fake A tier, but it definitely does have the raw potential to be good. Everything else is kind of trash for various reasons. It's mostly because of a gun like either doesn't do enough damage per bullet, or have too small of a magazine, or shoots too slowly. And therefore, in a game like this where you miss a lot, it's not gonna work out, or something like that. Most of the times, the combination of the three: low damage per round, slow fire rate, and you know, inconsistency or like spread or whatever, or like a low magazine cap. So basically it's normally a combination of these three. I won't go over the rest of the weapons because I don't think they're good. Let me know in the comments if you do want to see the in-depth breakdown of each weapon, but that's mostly likely going to take like 30 minutes. So that will be the end of the video. And well, yeah, there's some other rare guns, but I will highly recommend not picking up the rare guns, although they might on paper be very good. They're not good in game. These guys, if you stick with these guys, I'm sure you have good results. And as long as you are good at the game, these guys will serve you well. Alright, well, happy hunting, I guess.